Captain Daywin stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge, staring at the endless stars outside the viewport. His ship had been mapping the outer regions of space for 3 months now. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. Humanity needed to know what was out there. The horizon's edge was a small survey vessel. It carried a crew of 43 people and enough supplies for 6 months. They traveled from system to system, scanning planets and recording data. Most days were quiet, too quiet. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," Jiu said from her station. She was the communications officer, responsible for monitoring all signals. In space, her fingers moved quickly across her console. Daewin walked over to her. "What kind of strange signal?" "It's repeating over and over." Jiu frowned at her screen. "But it's not from any human colony. The pattern is completely different from anything we use." Dan felt his heart beat faster. In 85 years of space travel, humans had found empty planets, interesting rocks, and lots of silence. They had never found another intelligent species. "Can you decode it?" "I'm trying. Give me a few minutes." Jiu put on her headphones and started working. Her fingers flew across the keyboard as she ran the signal through different translation programs. Daewin called Dr. Hai-Jin to the bridge. She was the ship's xenobiologist, a scientist who studied alien life. If this signal was real, she would want to see it. Hai-Jin arrived quickly, her eyes bright with excitement. "Is it true? An alien signal?" "We don't know yet," Dwan said. Jiu is working on it. They waited. Intense silence. The bridge crew had stopped their normal work to watch. Everyone knew this could be the most important moment in human history. After 20 minutes, Jai Wu pulled off her headphones. Her face was pale. "Captain, you need to hear this." She played the decoded message through the bridge speakers. A mechanical voice spoke in clear English, though the accent was strange and halting. "To any sentient species within range, this is an automated distress beacon. We are the Kathan, the Maru, and the Bashni peoples. We have been slaves of the Valian Empire for 300 cycles. Our worlds are not our own. Our children are taken from us. Our lives are not valued. We send this message knowing it may reach no one. We send it anyway. If you can hear this, if you have the power to help, please send mercy, send hope. We are dying." The message repeated in different languages. Jiu had counted 127 so far. The bridge was completely silent. Daewin felt sick to his stomach. Slavery. 300 years of slavery. "There's more," Jiu said quietly. "Signal includes coordinates to multiple star systems, and there's biological data about the species asking for help." Hai-Jin was already studying the data on her tablet. "These are herbivore species, peaceful by nature. Their biology shows no natural weapons, no aggressive traits." She looked up at Daewin. "They can't fight back. That's probably why they were enslaved." "What about their oppressors?" Daewin asked. "The Vians. The data on them is fragmentary," Hai-Jin said, scrolling through information. "But what's here is concerning. They're described as a warrior culture, predatory. They've conquered 47 star systems." Daewin walked back to the viewport. 47 star systems. Humanity had barely managed to colonize 12. How far away are these coordinates? The nearest system is about 3 weeks at maximum slip space speed, the navigator reported. The furthest is 2 months away. Daewin rubbed his face with both hands. This was beyond his authority, way beyond. He was a survey captain, not a military commander. Jiu, can you verify this? Signal is genuine. Could it be a trap? Jiu worked for another hour, running every test she knew. Finally she shook her head. Sir, I can't find any evidence of deception. The signal has been broadcasting for at least 10 years based on its degradation. It's automated, probably set up by someone who's long dead. 10 years, someone had sent this message 10 years ago and never gotten a response. Maybe they had given up hope. Maybe they were already dead. What do we do, Captain? Hajin asked softly. It was the question Daewon had been dreading. They could ignore the signal, pretend they never heard it, continue their survey mission, and go home in 3 months. Nobody would blame them. This wasn't their fight, but he kept thinking about the voice in that message. Desperation. 300 years of slavery, children being taken from their parents. We can't fight an empire. His first officer said, we're a survey ship. We have no weapons. I know, Daewon said. But we can report this. We can tell Earth what we found. And what will Earth do? The first officer asked. We've avoided alien contact for 85 years. We're not ready for this. Daewon thought about his own children back on Earth, safe, free. He thought about what it would mean if someone took them away. And he couldn't stop it. Record everything he ordered, all the data, the message, the coordinates, the biological information, everything. Prepare a secure transmission to Earth. Fleet Command. Sir, are you sure? Jiwoo asked. No, Daewon admitted, but I know what's right. Someone asked for help. We heard them. We have to answer. He composed a message to Fleet Admiral T. Jin, the highest military commander in Earth's forces. He explained the situation clearly and attached all the data. At the end, he added his own thoughts. Sir, I know this is unprecedented. I know this could mean war with a species we know nothing about, but I cannot ignore this. These people are suffering. They asked for help. If we have the power to respond and we choose not to, what does that say about us? I await your orders. He sent the transmission. It would take 2 days to reach Earth. The crew waited nervously. Some thought they had done the right thing. Others worried they had just started a war humanity couldn't win. 2 days later, the response came. It was short, direct, very typical of Admiral Tae-jin. Message received and understood. Maintain position. Do not approach the coordinates. We are coming. Prepare the battle groups. Daewon read the message 3 times. Battle groups. Plural. The Admiral wasn't sending one ship. He was sending an armada. Hae-jin stood beside him, reading over his shoulder. They're really going to do it. They're going to help or start the biggest war in human history. The first officer muttered. Daewon didn't respond. He just stared at the stars, thinking about a desperate message sent 10 years ago into the void. Someone had cried for help, never expecting an answer. They were about to get one, and Daewon prayed. They had done the right thing. Sububin's hands shook as she worked in the communications archive. The Vian guards would make their rounds in 10 minutes. She had to finish before then. She was Catherine, a slave on her own home world. Her people had been conquered before she was born. Her grandmother told stories of freedom, but Sububin had never known it. She worked in the Imperial Archives, maintaining old communication equipment that the Vians barely understood. 3 weeks ago, the villains had executed her family, her crime her brother had looked a villain officer in the eye. That was considered disrespectful. The punishment was death for the entire family. They had missed Subin. She had been working a double shift when they came. When she returned home, her family was gone. Something broke inside her that day. Fear died, anger replaced it. She accessed the ancient long-range communication array, a system the Vians never used. They preferred their own modern networks, but Subin had learned this old technology. She had programmed a message in 127 languages, included coordinates to every slave world, and added biological data about her people and their oppressors. She knew nobody would answer. The galaxy was big and empty, but she sent it anyway. It made her feel like she had done something, anything to fight back. Now 3 weeks later, she worked in the same archives, waiting to die. Valians would find out eventually. They always did. The door burst open. Subin jumped, her heart racing. A Vian security officer stood there. You come with me now. Subin followed, certain this was the end. They walked through the sterile white corridors of the Imperial complex. Other Catherine slaves stepped aside, keeping their eyes down. Nobody helped slaves. They reached the Central Command Center. Dozens of Van officers stood around holographic displays. At the center stood Emperor Krellel himself, the Emperor of the Van Empire. Krellel was enormous, even for a Van. His scaled skin was deep red, sign of his royal bloodline. His forearms crossed over his chest as he studied a display. Someone sent an unauthorized transmission from this facility 3 weeks ago, Krellel said, his voice like grinding stones. Find them. Execute them. Subin's blood ran cold. They knew, but before the security officers could start searching, an alarm blared. Every display in the room changed to show the same thing, an incoming signal. What is this? Krellel demanded. A communications officer, her scales pale yellow, worked frantically at her console. Sire, it's a response to the unauthorized slave transmission. Someone answered. The room fell silent. Subin couldn't breathe. Someone had answered. That was impossible. Play it, Krellel ordered. A new voice filled the command center. It spoke in Vian language, but the accent was strange. This is Fleet Admiral Tay Jin of Earth Fleet Command. We received your distress call. We are coming to investigate. Stand by. Laughter exploded through the command center. Vian officers roared with amusement. Krellel himself smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Earth. Krellel said, I don't know this world. Find it in the database. The communications officer searched quickly. Sire, Earth is a minor world in Sector 779. They achieved space travel only 85 cycles ago. They control 12 systems, all in their immediate region. They have never engaged in interstellar conflict. More laughter. A warrior commander slapped his knee with one of his forearms. A baby species dares to answer the slaves crying. Krellel leaned back, his command throne. This is amusing. Send them a reply. Tell them to kneel before the Vian Empire or be destroyed. Give them 10 days to respond. Sire, should we not gather intelligence? First, we know nothing about their capabilities. Silence, Krellel roared. They are infants. In the galaxy, we have conquered 47 systems. We have crushed species far older than them. Send the message. Communications officer obeyed. she sent Krell's ultimatum to Earth, demanding immediate submission. Subin stood frozen in the corner. Forgotten in the excitement, she couldn't believe it. Someone had actually answered her message, but now she had doomed them too. The Vians would crush these humans like they crushed everyone else. She needed to escape, to hide. In the confusion, she slipped out of the command center and ran. 10 days passed. Subin hid in the underground tunnels. With other rebels, they had heard rumors of her transmission and the human response. Some were angry with her. You brought the Vian's attention to our resistance, one rebel spat, and you've doomed another species, Subin said. Nothing, they were right. On the 10th day, Velian alarm screamed across the planet. Sububin and the other rebels huddled around a stolen data pad, watching the Velian military channels. On Earth, Fleet Admiral Tae-jin stood in the war room surrounded by his officers. He was an old man, his hair white, his face scarred from the colony wars 30 years ago. He had fought humans then. Now he would fight aliens. Show me the Vian ultimatum again, he ordered. They played it. Krell's arrogant face filled the screen. Kneel before the Vian Empire or be annihilated. You have 10 days. Tae-jin watched it without expression. Then he turned to his staff. How many battle groups can we mobilize? In 1 week, sir. Mobilizing more than 5 would leave Earth's defenses dangerously thin. An officer warned. I didn't ask about Earth's defenses. I asked how many we can mobilize. 17, sir. But that's nearly 40% of our entire fleet. If we lose them, we won't. Tae-jin said calmly. Because we're not going to fight a war of honor and glory. We're going to fight the way humans fight, with overwhelming force and no mercy for slavers. He walked to the window, looking out at the blue earth below. They think we're weak because we're young. They think slavery is acceptable. They're wrong on both counts. Send the mobilization orders. I want 8 dreadnoughts, 47 battleships, and all supporting craft. We leave in 6 days. Commander Hyun Woo commanded the dreadnought Seoul's Fury, the largest warship in Earth's fleet. When he received his orders, he assembled his crew. We're going to war, he told them, not against humans this time. Against aliens who keep slaves, who execute families for looking at them. Wrong. We're going to show them what happens when you ask humanity to kneel. The crew cheered. Yan Wu didn't smile. He had studied the limited data on the Vians. They were warriors, but they fought for individual glory. Humans fought as a unified machine. That would be the difference. The Earth fleet assembled in orbit. 17 battle groups, 8 dreadnoughts, 47 battleships, 156 cruisers, 312 destroyers, and support craft, the largest military force humanity had ever gathered. Tae-jin broadcast a message to Earth before they left. We go to answer a call for help. We go to face an empire that believes might makes right. They will learn that humanity has plenty of might. But we also have something they lack. We have compassion. We remember what it means to be oppressed. We remember what it means to fight for freedom. We will not fail. The fleet entered slip space, heading toward Valian territory. On Valia Prime, the Velian sensor network detected massive energy signatures approaching their space, hundreds of ships moving together. The sensor officer reported to Krell, "Sire, we detect large-scale slip space distortions, multiple contacts incoming." Krell waved a dismissive Hand sensor errors, no species would dare attack us, sire. The readings are consistent. Whatever is coming, it's big. Krell stood up from his throne. For the first time, doubt flickered across his face. How many ships? At least 500. Sire, maybe more. They're still too far away to get an exact count. The war room fell silent. 500 ships, that was more than the Valian home defense fleet. Impossible, Krell said. The humans have 12 colonies. They cannot field 500 warships. But deep in his warrior heart, Krell felt something he had not felt in many years. Fear. The humans were coming, and they were not coming to kneel. The human fleet exited Slipace at the edge of Vian territory. 523 warships appeared in the darkness of space, their running lights creating a field of stars where none had been before. Commander Hyan Wu stood on the bridge of the Soul's Fury. The massive dreadnought was 3 km long, bristling with rail guns and missile batteries. Around it, the rest of the fleet formed perfect formations. All ships report ready, sir, his tactical officer said. Hyan Wu nodded. Send the message on all frequencies. The fleet broadcast in every language they had decoded from the original distress call to the enslaved peoples of the Vayan Empire. Stay in your homes. We are here to help. To the Vayan forces, surrender peacefully or be destroyed. You have 1 hour on Tailai's III of Vayan fortress world on the border of their empire. Alarm screamed. The garrison commander, a veteran warrior named Krax, stared at his displays in disbelief. How many? He demanded. Over 500 ships. Commander, they appeared from nowhere. Krax had defended this world for 20 cycles. He had crushed 3 rebellions and defeated 2 rival species who dared challenge Valian supremacy. He was not afraid of these humans. Scramble all fighters. Launch the defense fleet. Will show these primitives what happens when they challenge the Vayan Empire. 600 Vin fighters launch from the planet's surface. The Vayan defense fleet, consisting of 40 warships, moved to intercept the humans. Krax expected the humans to slow down, to adopt defensive positions like all rational species did before battle. The humans accelerated. Sir, they're not slowing down, a sensor officer reported. They're moving directly toward us at maximum combat speed. Good, Krax said. They're foolish, eager for glory. We'll crush them quickly. On the Soul's Fury, Hyan Wu watched the Vayan forces approach. Time to target. 4 minutes, sir. Weapons free. All ships engage. On my mark. The human fleet split into 5 groups with practiced precision. Each group targeted a different section of the Vayan formation. This wasn't a battle for honor. This was mathematics. Mark, Hyan Wu said calmly. Space lit up with violence. Human rail guns firing solid projectiles at incredible speeds tore through valiant shields like paper. Missile swarms, hundreds launched simultaneously, overwhelmed Valian point defense systems. The Valians fought back. Their energy weapons were powerful, burning through space with deadly precision. But Vayan tactics relied on individual ship commanders making bold, glorious decisions. They broke formation to seek personal victories. The humans fought as one mind. Every ship knew its role. Every shot was coordinated. When a Vayan ship focused on one human cruiser, 3 others would target it from different angles. When Vayan fighters tried to swarm a single target, human point defense from surrounding ships cut them Down. Cracks watched his forces die and finally understood these humans weren't primitive, they were the most efficient killers he had ever seen. All ships fall back, reform defensive positions. Around the planet, it was too late. The human fleet pressed forward, their formations perfect, their fire never ceasing. 47 minutes after the battle began, the Vayan defense fleet was destroyed. 600 fighters became debris. 40 warships became expanding clouds of gas and metal. The humans had not lost a single ship on the planet below. Sububin and the other Catherine rebels watched. Through the stolen data pad, they saw human battleships fill the sky above their world, blocking out the stars. They came, Subin whispered, tears streaming down her face. They really came. An old Catherine named Ven, who had lived through 50 cycles of slavery, shook his head. They came to fight, but can they win? The Vayans control 47 worlds. This is just one. As if in answer, the human fleet broadcast another message. Villian garrison on K-Thra, your fleet is destroyed. Surrender your forces and you will be treated as prisoners of war. Resist and you will share their fate. You have 10 minutes. On Kithra's surface, the Vayan garrison commander looked at his forces. 3,000 warriors, the pride of the empire, but he had just watched the defense fleet die in less than an hour. He thought about fighting, about dying gloriously in battle. Then he thought about his family back on Vaya Prime, about living to see them again. We surrender, he said quietly. Other Vayan officers stared at him in shock. Commander, we cannot. The Empire just lost 40 warships. In 47 minutes, the Empire doesn't understand what these humans are, but I do. They're soldiers, professional soldiers, and we can't beat them. One by one, Vayan garrisons across 6 different worlds received the same ultimatum. Some surrendered, others fought. Those who fought died. Lieutenant Kite flew his fighter from the carrier Inyan Dawn. His squadron had been assigned to provide close air support for the ground forces. Landing on K-Thra, as they descended through the atmosphere, he saw the Catherine cities below. They were beautiful once. Now they were gray and broken, built to serve Valian masters. All fighters stay tight, Kite ordered his squadron. Intelligence says there might be Valian air defenses still active. They encountered 3 Valian fighter squadrons rising to meet them. The battle was brief and brutal. Human fighters were faster, more maneuverable. Kite's squadron lost 1 pilot. The Valians lost everything. On the ground, Marine Commander Joe led the first wave of troops into the capital city. His orders were clear: secure the city, protect civilian populations, arrest Valian military forces. The Vayans who chose to fight did so with desperate courage. They were warriors trained from birth, but they fought as individuals, each one seeking personal glory. Jehos Marines fought as units overlapping fields of fire, combined arms tactics. When Vayan warriors charged, hoping to engage in honorable single combat, they ran into coordinated fire from 3 directions. In 6 hours, the capital was secured. Jehos forces suffered 37 casualties. The Vayan garrison lost 800 warriors. Colonel Haihuan led a special operations team into the underground tunnels following intelligence reports of rebel Catherine hiding there. Her orders were to make contact and ensure they understood the humans were there to help. She found them huddled in a dark Chamber terrified when her team entered the Catherine scattered, trying to hide. Wait, H-Wang called out in their language, we're here to help. We answered your distress call. An old Catherine male stepped forward slowly. You're human. Yes, we received your message. We came as fast as we could. You came to help slaves. The old Catherine seemed unable to believe it. Yes, why? Hi, one thought about that question because you asked, because it was right. A young Catherine female pushed through the crowd. Her eyes were red from crying, her hands shaking. I sent the message, Subyubin said. I sent it 10 years ago. I never thought you were brave, Hiwan said. You saved your people. Subin collapsed sobbing. Other Catherine gathered around her, comforting her. They had lived without hope for so long that its return was overwhelming. Medic Una moved through the crowd, treating the wounded and sick. The Catherine were malnourished, beaten down by generations of slavery, but they were alive and now they were free. On Veya Prime, Imperator Krello received reports from 6 worlds. All attacked, all defeated, some surrendered, others fought to the last warrior. The humans had split their fleet and conquered 6 worlds in a single day. Krello's war Master Raster, an old warrior named Threx, studied the battle recordings. He watched the humans fight with cold efficiency, no wasted movement, no individual glory seeking, just pure calculated violence. They've been fighting each other, 3 said quietly, for a long time. These aren't explorers who learn to fight, these are fighters who learn to explore. Krello slammed his fist on the table. Recall all fleets, every ship, every warrior. Bring them home. We make our stand at Valia Prime. Threx nodded. He knew what was coming. The humans wouldn't stop. They would free every world the Valians had ever conquered, and then they would come for the home world. He just hoped they would show mercy when they won, because Threx, veteran of 100 battles, knew the truth that Krello refused to accept. The humans were going to win. The human fleet divided into 7 task forces, each one headed toward a different slave world. Admiral Tae Jin commanded from his flagship, the Dreadnought Earth's Promise, coordinating the liberation campaigns across multiple star systems. The pattern repeated on world after world. Human warships arrived. Vayan defenses fought back. The humans won with terrible efficiency. Then came the ground forces. And that's where everything changed. On the Maru home world, Marine Commander Jay expected his toughest fight yet. Intelligence reported that the Vian garrison here numbered 10,000 warriors. They had fortified the capital city, turning it into a fortress. Jeho's assault began at dawn. Human artillery positioned on the hills surrounding the city opened fire, not on the city itself, but on military installations outside it. Precision strikes that destroyed Valian weapons while avoiding civilian areas. The Valian commander, hoping to draw the humans into close combat where Valian strength and ferocity would matter, sent his warriors out to meet them. It was a slaughter. Human combined arms tactics obliterated the Vian counterattack in 2 hours. Tanks, infantry, air support, and artillery worked together like parts of a single machine. When the Vians retreated back into the city, they had lost 3,000 warriors. Jay sent a message to the Valian commander. Surrender now. Your position is hopeless. We don't want to fight inside the city. Too many civilians will die. The valiant commander's response was defiant. We are warriors of the Empire. We will fight until our last breath. Jigged, then we'll do this the hard way. His forces surrounded the city. They cut off power, water, and communications. They waited. 3 days later, the morrow. Slaves inside the city rose up. They had been waiting for a chance, any chance to fight back with the Vayan garrison. Weakened and distracted, they attacked. From within, the Vayans found themselves fighting a two-front war, humans outside, slaves inside. It lasted 12 hours. When it ended, the Vayan garrison had surrendered. Jho walked through the city past. Celebrating Maru, they danced in the streets, crying and laughing. Children who had never known freedom played in the sunshine. An elderly Maru approached him. You freed us. Why? What do you want in return? Nothing, Joe said. We want nothing. Your world is yours. The old Maru stared at him, confused. In their experience, powerful species always wanted something. I don't understand. You will, Jay said. In time on K-Thra, Colonel Hwan's Special Operations Team had been working with Sububin and the rebel Catherine. They had intelligence about Valian supply caches, hidden bases, and the locations of captured Catherine being held as political prisoners. There's a detention center 50 km north. Sububin told Hwan, pointing at a map. The Vyans keep important prisoners. They're my people who spoke out against them, artists, teachers, anyone they thought was dangerous. How many prisoners? Hwan asked. Maybe 2,000. How many guards? 300 Valian warriors. It's heavily defended. Hwan studied the map. A direct assault would cost lives. Both human and Catherine will need to be smart about this. She planned a night raid. Her team would infiltrate the facility, disable the defenses, and secure the prisoners before the Vyans could harm them. It was risky, but these were people who had suffered for speaking the truth. They deserved rescue. The raid launched at midnight. Hwan's team moved like ghosts through the darkness. They disabled the power grid, plunging the detention center into blackness. Night vision equipment gave the humans a massive advantage. The Valian guards scrambled to respond, but they were blind, confused. Hwan's team took down sentries silently, secured key positions, and opened the cell blocks. 2,000 Catherine prisoners stumbled out into freedom. Many were weak from mistreatment. Some had been imprisoned for decades. Subin went with the rescue team. When they opened the cells, she searched frantically for familiar faces. Her aunt, her childhood teacher, friends she thought were dead. She found them, thin, scarred, but alive. Supin, her aunt, whispered, barely recognizing her. How? I sent a message into space, Subin said, crying, and someone answered. Medical officer Yun Na set up a field hospital at the detention center. The freed prisoners needed immediate care. Malnutrition, untreated injuries, some had been tortured. Yuna worked tirelessly, treating patient after patient. The Catherine were terrified of her at first. She was an alien, a stranger, but she spoke softly, moved gently, and her hands brought relief instead of pain. An old Catherine male watched Yuna work. Why do you care? He asked. We're nothing to you. Yuna looked up from bandaging a wound. Your people, that's enough, but your people are warriors. We saw what you did to the Valians. You fight like demons. Yes, Yuna said quietly. We can be terrible in war, but that's why. We must be kind in peace, balance, understanding. We remember what it's like to suffer across 7 worlds. The liberation continued. The Bashni were freed from mining colonies where they had worked until they died. The Roth were released from agricultural worlds where they had grown food they were never allowed to eat. 12 more species, all slaves to the Vian Empire, all freed within 3 weeks. On his flagship, Admiral Tin reviewed the reports. 7 worlds liberated, 14,000. Vian warriors killed in combat, 8,000. Captured human casualties, 217 dead. 643 wounded. The numbers sickened him. War always did, but he thought about the freed slaves. Hundreds of thousands of people who could now live their own lives, choose their own futures, raise their children in freedom. It was worth it. He sent an envoy to Via Prime Ambassador Dongwu, a diplomat who had negotiated peace treaties between human colonies during the colony wars. Dongwu carried a message from Earth. The message was simple. The Vian Empire is finished. Your slave worlds are free. You have lost this war, but you can still choose how it ends. Abolish slavery throughout your remaining territory. Release all conquered people. Stand trial for your crimes against sentient life. Do this and we will accept your surrender. There will be no invasion of Via Prime, no more death, refuse, and we will free every world you have ever touched. The choice is yours. Imperator Krello received the human envoy in his throne room. He read the message while Dongwu waited. Then Krello laughed. It was a terrible sound, full of rage and humiliation. The humans want us to surrender, to stand trial like criminals. We are the Vian Empire. We have ruled this sector for 400 cycles. You were the Vian Empire, Dongwu said calmly. Now you're a broken power clinging to past glory. Accept these terms. Save your people from more death. Krello stood up from his throne, his 4 arms spread wide. I reject your terms. The Vian Empire will never kneel to primitives. We will fight. We will die as warriors, and we will take many humans with us. He gestured to his guards. They grabbed Dongwu. Execute him, Krello ordered. Broadcast it on all frequencies. Show the humans what happens to those who threaten the Empire. Warm Master Threx stepped forward. Emperor, this is unwise. Executing an envoy is my decision. Krello roared. I am the Emperor. My word is law. They executed Dongwu in the palace courtyard. Broadcasted across known space. The human ambassador died with dignity. His last words a message to his family. On the Earth's promise, Admiral Tajin watched the execution. His face showed no emotion. Around him, his officers waited for orders. Recall all task forces, Tajin said quietly. Consolidate the fleet. We're going to Valia Prime, sir. They'll have recalled their entire military. It'll be their strongest defense. I know. T. Jin looked at the image of Dongwu and LT Unk and GTS body on the screen. The ambassador had been a good man, a friend. Send message to all freed worlds. Tell them we're finishing this. Tell them we will free everyone the Vians ever conquered. Every world, every person. He turned to his fleet commanders. They think we're cruel. They think we're ruthless. They haven't seen anything yet. We're going to show them what happens when you ask humanity to kneel. We're going to show them what happens when you execute our people. The entire human armada began moving toward Valia Prime, 300 warships carrying the combined fury of a species that had learned long ago that freedom was worth any price. On Valia Prime, Krell watched them come. His defense fleet had assembled 300 Vayan warships, the pride of the Empire. Every warrior they had left. It would be the greatest battle in galactic history, and Krell still believed he could win. The human fleet exited slip space at the edge of the Valia Prime system. 300 warships carrying 40,000 marines and crew. They had come to end an empire. Waiting for them were 300 Valian warships, every military vessel the Empire had left behind them. Valia Prime hung in space like a red jewel. Admiral Tae Jin stood on the bridge of Earth's Promise. Around him his command staff worked quietly. No one spoke. Unless necessary, they all knew what was coming. Valian fleet is holding position around their home world. The tactical officer reported defensive formation there, protecting their planet. Tin said they have to. If they lose here, they lose everything. Commander Hun Woo and LT Unk and GTS voice came over the command channel from the Soul's Fury. Admiral, we're in position. All battle groups report ready. Hold position. T-Jin ordered. Send one final message to the Vian fleet. The communication went out on all frequencies. This is Admiral Tae Jin of Earth Fleet. You have one last chance to prevent more death. Surrender your forces. Your empire is finished. Your slave worlds are free. You cannot win this battle. Choose life over death. Choose your families over glory. On the Vayan flagship, Emperor's Wrath, Warm Master Threx received the message. He was old now, scarred from a 100 battles he had fought for the Empire his entire life, but he was also wise enough to know the truth. The humans were right. The Vians couldn't win. He turned to his communication officer. How long until the Emperor receives that message? He's listening now. Wararm Master Raster. Threx nodded. He knew what Krell would say. On Valia Prime, Imperator Krell heard the human message around him. His advisors waited nervously. The civilians on the planet below watched the sky, where 300 alien warships had appeared. Send our response, Krell said. His voice was cold, certain. Tell them the Vayan Empire has never surrendered. Tell them we choose death before dishonor. One of his advisors, an old civilian administrator, stepped forward. Imperator, please think of our people. Our families. We can rebuild. We can. Krell struck him with one massive arm. The advisor fell bleeding. We are warriors. We do not beg for mercy from primitives. We fight. He gave the order to his fleet. All ships advance. Destroy the humans. The Vayan fleet moved forward. 300 ships against 300. But numbers didn't tell the whole story. Warm Master Threx had studied every battle the humans had fought. He understood their tactics now. He had reorganized his fleet, trying to copy their coordination. He had trained his warriors to fight as units instead of individuals. It wasn't enough. Battle for Valia Prime began at 1437 station time. It would last 9 hours and become the bloodiest battle in human military history. The Valian fleet fought with desperate courage. Threx commanded brilliantly, using every tactic he knew. His ships worked together, covered each other, fought as the humans fought, and for the first time they inflicted real casualties. The human cruiser, Buselsen's Pride, took 3 direct hits and exploded. The destroyer Pacific Storm lost engine power and drifted into a Vayan missile. Barrage, the battleship Moscow's Hammer, rammed Ayan Dreadnought when its weapons failed, destroying both ships. On the Seoul's Fury, Commander Hunwoo fought his ship through a storm of fire. A Vayan flagship commanded by Threx himself engaged him in a brutal duel. The 2 ships hammered each other. Rail gun rounds tore through armor. Energy weapons burned through holes. Hyan Wu and LT Ankh and GT's ship shuddered with impact. Shields at 30%. His tactical officer reported, hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. Keep firing. Hyan Wu ordered all weapons. Don't stop. The Seoul's Fury and the Emperor's Wrath circled each other like ancient duelists. Both ships were dying, but neither would retreat. Finally, a lucky shot from the Seoul's Fury penetrated the Emperor and LT Ankh and GT's Wrath's reactor shielding. The Vayan flagship began to break apart. Threx, wounded and dying, sent one final message to Hyan Wu: "You fight well, human, with honor, you." To Hyan Wu replied, "The Emperor's wrath exploded. Thrax died as he had lived in battle, but the cost was terrible. The Seoul's Fury was crippled, drifting in space. Hyan Wu had lost half his crew." Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. The humans were winning, but the Vayans were making them pay for every meter of space. Lieutenant Kite flew his fighter through the chaos. His squadron was trying to disable the planetary shield so the ground forces could land. Villian fighters swarmed them, fighting with suicidal bravery. "Stay together," Kay shouted to his squadron. "Cover each other." They fought their way through to the shield generators. Kite lined up his shot, fired his missiles, and watched the massive installation explode. The planetary shields flickered and died. "Shields down," Kite reported. "Marines, you're clear for landing." Marine Commander JHO led the first wave down to Valia Prime. The Valian Imperial Guard met them on the landing field. These were the Emperor's personal warriors, the best the Empire had. They wore ancient armor and carried ceremonial weapons alongside modern guns. The battle that followed was vicious. The Imperial Guard fought for every building, every street, every room. They knew they would die. They just wanted to take as many humans with them as possible. Jeho's Marines advanced slowly, taking heavy casualties. The Valians wouldn't surrender, wouldn't retreat. They fought until they were killed. In 6 days of brutal ground combat, the Imperial Guard died to the last warrior. 10,000 Villian elite troops all dead. Joe had lost 800 Marines. On the 6th day, his forces reached the Imperial Palace. Emperor Krello waited inside alone. His advisors had fled. His warriors were dead. He sat on his throne, a bottle of poison in his hand. When the human Marines broke through the doors, Krello looked at them with contempt. "I will not be taken prisoner. I will not stand trial. I am the Emperor of the Vayan Empire, and I choose my own death." He drank the poison, died in his throne room. The last emperor of a broken empire. JHO stood in the palace. Looking at Krell's body, he felt no triumph, no joy, just exhaustion and sadness. Outside in orbit, the last Vayan warship surrendered. The battle was over. Admiral Tin reviewed the final casualty reports. The humans had lost 14 Warships destroyed, 38 damaged, 3,000. Crew dead, 7,000 wounded. The Vians had lost everything. That evening Tyan found the surviving senior Valian officer. It was a ship captain named Vaughn, wounded but alive. The humans had treated his injuries and held him as a prisoner of war. Why? Vaughn asked. We killed your people. Why save me? Because the war is over, Tae Jin said. And because you're a prisoner of war. Not a criminal. You fought for your empire. That doesn't make you evil, but we kept slaves. We oppressed entire species. Yes, and those responsible will face justice, but not every Vian is a slaver. Not every warrior is a war criminal. We know the difference. Vaughn stared at him. I don't understand you humans. You fight like demons, but you show mercy. Like people who have been where you are. Tae Jin finished. We've fought wars, we've lost wars, we know what comes after. Revenge only creates more war. Justice brings peace. 1 year later, the galaxy had changed. Subin stood in the Earth Embassy on K-Thra wearing formal robes. She had been chosen as the Ketan ambassador to Earth. She still couldn't quite believe it. The 7 freed species had formed the coalition of free worlds. Each world governed itself, but they worked together for mutual defense and trade. Human ships patrolled their space, protecting them from anyone who might think them easy targets. On Via Prime, War Master Threx's protege, Captain Vaughn, helped lead the transition to democratic government. It was hard. Valian culture had been built on conquest and slavery for centuries, but slowly, painfully, they were changing. The Valian people, freed from their emperor's tyranny, were learning to live without slaves. Some resisted, some embraced the change. It would take generations to heal. Commander Hun Wu recovered from his wound. The soul's fury was repaired and returned to service. He retired from active duty and became an instructor, teaching young officers about the cost of war. Lieutenant Kite continued flying. He led a squadron that patrolled coalition space, ensuring no new empires rose to threaten the freed worlds. Colonel Hai Wan became the Earth military liaison to the coalition. She worked with the freed species to build their own defense forces so they could protect themselves. Medic Yuna stayed on K-Thra, helping set up hospitals and medical schools. The K-Thran people loved her. She had become a symbol of human compassion. Admiral Tin retired. He was old, tired, and haunted by the 3,000 crew members who had died under his command. He gave one final speech before leaving service. We went to war because someone asked for help. We freed 7 species because it was right, but we lost people, good people, people who believed that freedom was worth fighting for. I hope we never forget them, and I hope we never forget why we fought, not for glory, not for conquest, for justice. 3 months after Tae Jin's retirement, another signal reached Earth. Deep in uncharted space, another enslaved species had sent a distress call into the void. The new Fleet Admiral Hai Wan received the message. She read it carefully. Another empire, another slave system, another cry for help. She stood before the Coalition Council, humans and aliens working together. We have a decision to make. This signal is far away outside Coalition space. We would be risking our forces in unknown territory. Subin stood up. May I speak? Hiwan nodded. 1 year ago, I sent a message I never thought would be answered. Subin said I had lost Hope lost faith, but someone answered. Someone came, and my people are free. Because of it, if there is another species out there suffering as we suffered, don't we have a responsibility to answer? The council voted. It was unanimous. Fleet Admiral Haywin gave the orders. Prepare the fleet. Someone needs us. The warships assembled in orbit, not just human ships now, but Catherine vessels, Moru cruisers, Bashni fighters. The coalition fleet united in purpose. They would answer the call. They would free the oppressed. They would fight for those who couldn't fight for themselves. Because that's what humanity did, and now it's what the coalition did too. In the darkness of space, hope traveled at the speed of light, carried by warriors who knew both the cost of war and the value of freedom. The story of the distress call that changed the galaxy was just beginning.